We have all been playing Call of Duty forever because we love it, but every single COD title had at least one thing you would like to be different. And with that, let's dive into one thing I'd change about every COD. Call of Duty 1 to 3. I didn't get to experience them. I only played the COD 3 campaign, and I had to mention these or else I would have been yelled at in the comments. COD 4. Add Spec Ops. In Modern Warfare 2, Spec Ops was fun, and in Modern Warfare 3, survival mode was really cool. But imagine having Spec Ops in Call of Duty 4 before zombies was even created in World at War. Because if you really think about it, zombies is the reason Spec Ops never became as big of a thing, because it couldn't compare to what Treyarch gave us. Going into Modern Warfare, we had no other third mode to compare Spec Ops to, so it would have made the community fall in love with it immediately. And we were actually really close to getting it, because COD 4 is what gave Infinity Ward the idea to create Spec Ops with Mile High Club. World at War. Take the tanks out and add more kill streaks. The campaign was phenomenal and the zombies was an incredible innovation, so I had to look at the multiplayer to make a change. I know some people like the tanks, but whenever they were on a map, they took over the game and how you had to play it, which made me like all of those maps a little bit less. The multiplayer maps without the tanks were all considered to be the best, with examples of Castle, Courtyard, and Upheaval. And to give the multiplayer a little bit more life, like they were trying to do with the tanks, we could add kill streaks instead. Let's just not have 3 like COD 4 did, and add things like the napalm strike, counter UAV, and I don't know, maybe a flamethrower? Just adding basic streaks like that to World at War would have made the community view its multiplayer as a step forward instead of just a sideways step from COD 4. I still loved it, but it could have been that much better with this small change. Modern Warfare 2, one-man army, danger close, and Commando Pro. Everything is supposed to be overpowered in this game, and that's why I loved it and you loved it. But if they just fixed these 3 perks, the game would have been so much better, which is saying something when it's a top 5 Call of Duty of all time, with many having it ranked even higher. Without one-man army and danger close, the grenade launchers wouldn't have been a gigantic issue by being pocket nukes. And then to complete the trifecta of perks, Commando Pro was good for trick shotting with snipers, but being able to knife someone from across the map was kind of annoying, and something we could have done without. We didn't even need weapon balancing outside of the Akimbo Model 1887s because everything was good. We only needed these 3 perks balanced, and the whole community could have lived in harmony. I was trying to sound like Avatar: The Last Airbender there. If you're enjoying the video, please hit that like button so I know you want me to keep on making this every COD series. Black Ops 1, Second Chance Pro. I hated Ghost Pro more because it was more overpowered, but Second Chance Pro was just so much more annoying. If you were a smart player, you could work around Ghost players, but Second Chance people just ruined the whole flow of the game for a perk that didn't even help them out too much. Second Chance Pro people would never get revived by their teammates and would almost never get a kill from Second Chance. All it would do is throw off the player who knocked them, allowing for one of their teammates to get an easier kill from the distracted enemy. People use that perk just to be a nuisance, not because it was good, and that's why I'd change that over Ghost Pro, which at least made sense for players to use. Modern Warfare 3, Stealth Bomber being a support point streak. Okay, the real answer is death streaks, but I use that for one thing I hate about every COD, and I want to be different here. And can one of you explain to me why a support point streak is really an assault point streak? Because it wipes out the whole map. I really liked what Modern Warfare 3 did with its streaks by making objectives and assists with hardline pro count towards earning them, as well as creating support and specialist streaks. But the Stealth Bomber was the one streak I never understood. It felt like they threw it into the support package because they wanted bad players to be able to experience point streaks that actually got them kills. Here you go, Timmy. Here's a participation trophy. Support point streaks should have been things like UAVs, counter UAVs, Blackbirds, and EMPs, not something that is better than most assault point streaks at taking out enemies. Make it make sense. 84% of you watching aren't subscribed, and if just 1% more of you did, we'd be at 100k, which would mean a lot to me, so please hit that button. It's free. I appreciate all of you a lot. Black Ops 2, Transit. And I don't mean to get rid of the map. I mean, give us the version of Transit they envisioned at the start. Treyarch's main problem was they wanted to make a zombies map that required better hardware than Xbox 360s and PS3s could handle, which is why we got the fog and denizens along with the lava all over the ground, because it helped slow down the player and it made it so everything didn't have to load in as quickly. Now, I already know people consider me weird for liking Transit, but I think if you had a full party of 4 friends, the map was a blast. But in any other scenario, it was way worse. And if they could have just made the map they wanted, I think it would have been incredible. Even though Black Ops 2 had a slow start to zombies with Transit and Die Rise, it still turned into one of the best zombies experiences ever with Buried, Mob of the Dead, and Origins. Ghosts, the campaign's ending. Launch maps is a close second. Here's my main issue with the campaign. If they were gonna have a Ghost 2, then throwing a cliffhanger ending would have been fine. It would have created some hype for the next game. Rourke capturing Logan to set him up as a possible villain would work great in Ghost 2, whereas the player, you'd hope you'd be able to bring Logan back to the good side. And whether you were successful or not, it would have made for a great story. But Ghost 2 seems highly unlikely at this point, which means Infinity Ward could have had Rourke just flat out win to give a Call of Duty story we aren't used to. Have the hero lose. Have the player fail at stopping the world-ending threat and have Logan not be captured, but eliminated. That would have left a long and lasting impact on the community that would have made Ghost one of the most talked about Call of Duty campaigns ever. It would have been a lot more thought-provoking and interesting. Advanced Warfare, supply drops. I wouldn't get rid of them, but I would change how they worked. I mean, these things made YouTubers spend boatloads of money doing videos just opening them and made regular players follow. I always thought it was dumb, but to each their own. The reason purchasing supply drops was so controversial is because of having the weapon variants in them. And the best weapons in the entire game were variants, and the only way to get them was supply drops, which is where the pay-to-win aspect became a thing in Call of Duty. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I never bought a supply drop, and I never got the good variants like the Obsidian Cedar Speakeasy, for example. If you think Activision is greedy today with all their microtransactions, you don't remember them with supply drops. The community complained so much that they actually made Activision change something for the better. Advanced Warfare would have been a way better game if the supply drops were cosmetic only, or made it so weapon variants could be earned through specific challenges as well. Black Ops 3, the campaign. Supply drops would be an easy answer, but boring after just going over it with Advanced Warfare. The BO3 campaign did a few things right. Added co-op back, train go boom, and imagine yourself in a frozen forest. But past that, it left a lot to be desired. It is considered by most to be one of the worst campaigns in Call of Duty history, along with Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3 in 2023. My main issue with it is that Treyarch decided to go the zombies route with the story, which on the surface doesn't sound too bad, but it is. Treyarch had a great zombie story once you did more research into it, completed all the Easter eggs, and had the community piece everything together. This was a bonus on top of a fun-to-play game mode, not the main ingredient. With the campaign, the story should come first, but that's not what happened with Black Ops 3. The story was very confusing to most players and required people to look up what the heck was happening. You shouldn't have to do homework in order to understand the story of a campaign. So, I'd just change the story into something more palatable for the community, and it would have landed a lot better. Infinite Warfare, releasing COD 4 Remastered with it. This happened because of IW's trailer getting the most dislikes ever on a YouTube video at the time. People were done with advanced movement Call of Duties, and that caused Infinite Warfare to be hated before it was even played. So, to sell copies and make money, Activision made people purchase Infinite Warfare to get COD 4 Remastered. And while I thoroughly enjoyed COD 4 Remastered, it made people completely miss out on Infinite Warfare. It had a good campaign with a ton of sacrifice, the best non-Treyarch zombies by a mile, and the multiplayer wasn't amazing, but it wasn't awful. I'm sure some of you, like many of my friends, never even tried Infinite Warfare out and exclusively played COD 4 that year, and it's a shame. People were too quick to hate, and Activision quickly acted on this to ensure Infinite Warfare wouldn't succeed. I'd have loved to see the community actually experience what Infinite Warfare had to offer. COD World War II. Get rid of Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey earlier. They were the lead developers at the start of COD World War II when the multiplayer made us ordinary soldiers and not many liked the game. But as soon as Activision gave them a promotion, that's in quotations, we got new lead devs and the game's multiplayer quickly turned around into being really fun. And if we didn't have to deal with those two bums for the first 6-ish months of the game, it would have been remembered as a great game, but because they made most of the community quit early by not listening to the community or fixing any of the issues in the game, it isn't remembered as fondly as it should be. Not listening to the community and not fixing the game. Sounds like a problem that is still happening in Call of Duty to this day. Maybe they'll learn at some point. Black Ops 4. Make Blackout free. Honorable mention, I would have actually had a campaign, but that was Activision's fault, not Treyarch's. BO4 had to make a battle royale because of Fortnite's success, but then Activision had the bright idea to make it cost $60 along with getting Black Ops 4. That is the exact reason why Blackout didn't become a giant success, even though it was a really fun game. Greed didn't allow Activision to make it free, even though making it free would have given them more money. But that would require critical thinking that Activision didn't have. We will probably never see any version of Blackout again because of this terrible move, but at least we got Warzone 1 after, which was great, and only happened because Blackout wasn't free. Modern Warfare 2019. Call of Duty's philosophy shift with this game. The matchmaking, the maps, the safe spaces, and a lot more. So many people try to say this game saved Call of Duty and brought back players, but it didn't. 2 months into the game, COD had its lowest player count since pre-COD 4, and then the pandemic and Warzone happened, which brought all the players back. The skill-based and engagement-based matchmaking have shown that they don't retain players. Every year since MW 2019, less and less copies are being sold, and we have seen Black Ops 6's player count falling off a cliff. And this all started with MW 2019 changing the philosophy. It's not about quality, it's about quantity. MW 2019 had 6 6v6 multiplayer maps at launch. Their philosophy is to cater everything to bad players who barely play the games. The maps show this very clearly, but to make the point even clearer, let's look at a map like Crash, which is beloved from Call of Duty 4, and they brought it back for MW 2019. And you know what Infinity Ward decided to do? Change the map by adding a safe space to it. And they accomplished this by adding some doors to it and this little box that you can head glitch off of, which made the map slower paced and play way worse. They were willing to make a fan favorite map worse to cater to trash players just like the rest of the game. MW 2019 has negatively impacted every Call of Duty since. It may not be the worst Call of Duty ever, but it was the worst COD for the series. Cold War, zombie maps, and story. They needed to continue the Aether or Chaos story. Either one of them would have been way better than the Dark Aether story that Cold War has. And this directly affects the maps. You get to play as whatever character you select instead of the characters we've grown to know and care about. The maps weren't bad, but they weren't good or memorable either. The Zombies mode made many great changes with its mechanics, but the maps and story have no life, which makes it not as good. And don't get me wrong, you could still have fun playing Zombies, no problem. There just isn't the same passion from the developers anymore, and you can tell. Vanguard, remove incendiary grenades. You may think this game had bigger issues with the campaign and zombies, but simply making one change wouldn't fix them. And I really don't think that some of you understand how much Vanguard changed with Season 1 when the incendiary grenades were added. Look at what it did to Shipment. It butchered this map. It's crazy how a simple lethal equipment could ruin multiplayer so much. I actually had fun with Vanguard before this fiery grenade was added. Just remove it and the multiplayer wouldn't be nearly as hated. That's a fact. MW 2022. Movement. The community loved Modern Warfare 2019 movement that was created by complete accident, which is why Vanguard decided to have that same movement as well. But Infinity Ward decided that they wanted to create the movement they originally wanted to in MW 2019 that caters to a slow-paced, campy game. And they succeeded in that goal, which also allowed them to succeed in making the worst Call of Duty game of all time. I hate this game with a passion, and my runner-up change would be it never existing. But I think simply fixing its movement would make it way less bad, and would help fix Warzone 2 as well. But of course, we'd still have to deal with that awful visual recoil that they thought was a good idea. And before I get too upset, let's just move on. Modern Warfare 3. Not only having remastered maps at launch. This game got a bad rap from the start because of how bad Modern Warfare 2022 was, and MW2 was rumored to be a 2-year game. So everyone immediately thought Modern Warfare 3 was a $70 DLC only released because the last game was so bad. And only having Modern Warfare 2 2009 maps at launch fed into that rumor even more. Why would a game called Modern Warfare 3 only have MW2 maps remastered? It's a very good question, and it's a shame how much this game got trashed when it fixed the movement, visual recoil, and had great post-launch support content. Modern Warfare 3 was a Call of Duty that had an unfair shake, which is something Sledgehammer Games should be used to by now, but I feel a little bit bad for them. They seem to care about what the community thinks the most, while Infinity Ward cares the least. But Sledgehammer never gets to choose what game they make. So what would have been great for this game is if they let Sledgehammer release its own maps with the game, and it would have started off with less hate and gave the game a better outlook. Black Ops 6, fixing the game? Seems like a pretty simple fix, but a little more challenging. At its core, the game isn't bad, but the bugs and glitches, poor servers, hackers, and horrible matchmaking are things that have been in the game since the beginning, and they don't fix it, which is killing this game. We see the player numbers continuing to fall off a cliff, and they have no urgency to fix it. It took them 3 months to even attempt to update the anti-cheat, which hasn't helped at all. The servers are horrendous and aren't helped by the matchmaking prioritizing skill over connection, but ping is king, right Activision? At least that's what they always try to say. The skill or engagement optimized matchmaking is great for player retention, right Activision? Is that why this game has lost more than 67% of its players in 3 months? Most of these issues are simple fixes that they refuse to work on for some reason, and it's sad because Black Ops 6 isn't a bad game. But at this point, I just think this is going to be another Call of Duty that is more fun once the next Call of Duty is out, because at that point, the glitches will finally be fixed and the matchmaking will be less strict. So the real issue is we need them to care about the game that is currently out instead of just trying to push out more content. But if you want to remember what you love about every Call of Duty, click here and see why we all fell in love with the series. Peace.